There is a quiet story many men carry inside relationships, a story rarely spoken out loud. From the outside, a man may appear calm, strong, independent, even emotionally distant. But beneath that surface, there are needs he may not know how to express, needs he may have learned to hide long ago. And many men were taught early in life that vulnerability is weakness, that emotions should be controlled, minimized, or pushed aside. So instead of saying, "I need reassurance," or "I feel unseen," they stay silent. And when those needs remain invisible, relationships begin to suffer, not because love is missing, but because understanding is. Tonight, we're going to explore something rarely talked about, the hidden emotional needs of men in relationships and what happens when those needs are finally seen. In many cultures, boys are raised with an unspoken rule: be strong, be capable, be self-sufficient. The emotional world is often treated as something secondary, something that belongs to someone else. But emotional needs do not disappear simply because they are not expressed. They go underground. They show up in silence, in withdrawal, in frustration that seems to come out of nowhere. They appear in the moments when a man shuts down during conflict, or when he feels unexpectedly hurt by something small. These reactions are often misunderstood as emotional immaturity or detachment. But very often, they are the result of emotional needs that were never given language. A man may deeply desire closeness, reassurance, and emotional safety, yet lack the permission or the vocabulary to ask for it. So instead of saying, "I feel insecure," he may become defensive. Instead of saying, "I need to feel appreciated," he may become distant. Instead of saying, "I'm afraid of losing you," he may appear emotionally unavailable. Underneath many relationship struggles is not a lack of love. It is a lack of emotional recognition. When a partner begins to understand the emotional world that men often carry quietly, something powerful happens. The relationship becomes a place where both people can finally feel seen. Because behind the roles of provider, protector, or problem solver, there is still a human being who longs for connection. Men do not need less emotional care. Often, they simply received less practice expressing it. And when those hidden needs are acknowledged rather than judged, the entire emotional dynamic of a relationship can shift. What was once distance can become closeness. What was once silence can become honesty. What was once tension can become understanding. Because at the deepest level, relationships are not sustained by perfection. They are sustained by emotional safety. And when a man feels safe enough to be emotionally real, not just strong, not just capable, but fully human, the relationship begins to transform. Now I'm going to tell you about these 5 hidden emotional needs of a man in a relationship. First of all, the need to feel emotionally safe. For many men, emotional safety is not something they naturally assume exists in relationships. It is something their nervous system quietly scans for. From an early age, many boys receive subtle and direct messages about what parts of themselves are acceptable and what parts must be hidden. Tears may be met with discomfort. Fear may be met with ridicule. Sensitivity may be labeled as weakness. Over time, the child learns an important psychological lesson. Certain emotions threaten connection. And because connection is essential for survival, the mind adapts. Instead of expressing vulnerability, the boy begins to suppress it. Instead of saying, "I'm hurt," he learns to say nothing. Instead of saying, "I feel scared," he learns to appear strong. These adaptations are not signs of emotional absence. They are survival strategies developed in an environment where vulnerability did not feel safe. By the time that boy becomes a man and enters a relationship, those early patterns are still operating beneath the surface. His partner may see someone who struggles to open up, someone who becomes quiet during emotional conversations, or someone who changes the subject when things become too vulnerable. But what is often misunderstood as emotional distance is frequently a protective response shaped long before the relationship began. For a man to feel emotionally safe means something deeper than simply being told he can share his feelings. It means sensing that his humanity will not be diminished when he does. It means knowing that if he expresses uncertainty, sadness, or fear, he will not be seen as less capable, less masculine, or less worthy of love. Because when a man fears that vulnerability will cost him respect or connection, the nervous system does what it has always learned to do: it closes. This closing can look like withdrawal, defensiveness, or emotional silence. Yet beneath that protective wall, there is often a profound longing to be seen in a more complete way, not only as the strong one, the stable one, the problem solver, but as a human being who also carries doubts, insecurities, and emotional wounds. Emotional safety allows that wall to slowly soften. When a man begins to sense that his vulnerability will be met with understanding rather than judgment, something inside him starts to shift. The nervous system relaxes, the need for emotional armor begins to dissolve, what once felt dangerous begins to feel possible. And in that space, a different kind of connection emerges, one where strength and vulnerability are no longer in conflict. Because the deepest truth is that vulnerability does not weaken love. It is often the very thing that allows it to grow. Secondly, the need to feel appreciated and respected. For many men, the need to feel appreciated and respected runs much deeper than most people realize. It is not primarily about power, authority, or control as it is sometimes misunderstood. At its core, it is about feeling that their presence, effort, and intentions truly matter to the person they love. From an early age, many boys receive a quiet message about how their worth is measured. They are often praised not for their emotional expression, but for their performance, what they achieve, what they fix, what they provide, what they accomplish. Love and approval can become subtly tied to usefulness. Over time, this shapes an internal belief that their value in relationships comes from what they contribute rather than simply who they are. As adults, this conditioning often continues to operate beneath awareness. A man may not consciously think, "I need appreciation," but his nervous system is deeply sensitive to whether his efforts are noticed or dismissed. When he tries to support his partner, solve problems, or carry responsibilities, those actions are often his language of care. They're ways of saying, without words, "I am here, I am invested, I want to contribute to our life together." When those efforts are acknowledged, something important happens internally. The man feels seen, not only for what he does, but for the intention behind it. Appreciation communicates that his presence in the relationship is meaningful, that his attempts to care and support are recognized rather than taken for granted. Respect, in this sense, becomes an emotional form of safety. It tells him that he does not need to constantly defend his worth within the relationship. But when appreciation is absent, or when effort is met with criticism or indifference, the experience can be deeply discouraging. Many men will not express this hurt openly. Instead, they may withdraw emotionally, become quieter, or invest less energy in the relationship. From the outside, it may appear as indifference. Yet internally, it is often the result of feeling unseen or undervalued. What is important to understand is that appreciation nourishes emotional openness. When a man feels respected and valued, his defenses soften. The relationship no longer feels like a place where he must constantly prove himself. It becomes a place where he can invest more of his heart, and when appreciation flows in both directions, something powerful begins to develop. The relationship shifts from a silent evaluation of each other's shortcomings to a mutual recognition of each other's effort and humanity. Because beneath the roles that people play in relationships, the provider, the supporter, the problem solver, there is a very simple human longing. The longing to know that who we are and what we give truly matters to someone, and also the need to feel needed without being controlled. For many men, contributing to the well-being of someone they love is not simply a practical role, it is deeply tied to their sense of purpose and identity. When a man cares about a relationship, there is often a natural desire within him to support, protect, build, and improve the life he shares with his partner. This impulse is rarely about control or dominance. At a deeper level, it is about meaning. Human beings need to feel that their presence matters, that the energy they bring into a relationship has value. For many men, this sense of value is often expressed through action. They may show care by solving problems, offering solutions, providing stability, or finding ways to make life easier for the person they love. These behaviors are not merely practical gestures, they are emotional expressions translated into action. When those efforts are welcomed and appreciated, a man often feels a quiet sense of fulfillment. It tells him that his presence has weight, that he is not simply occupying space in the relationship, but actively contributing to its well-being. Feeling needed in this healthy sense reinforces connection. It allows him to experience himself as someone who brings something meaningful to the partnership However, there is an important difference between feeling needed and feeling controlled. When a relationship begins to feel like a constant evaluation of what he is doing wrong, or when his attempts to contribute are met primarily with criticism, pressure, or rigid expectations, the sense of purpose can quickly turn into emotional exhaustion. Instead of feeling valued, he may begin to feel that his worth depends on constantly meeting someone else's demands. At that point, contribution stops feeling like love and begins to feel like obligation. The nervous system responds to that pressure by protecting itself. A man may become less engaged, less motivated to contribute, or emotionally distant from the outside. This can appear as laziness or indifference. Yet often it is the natural response of someone who no longer feels that their efforts are freely given and genuinely valued. Healthy connection allows space for contribution without turning it into control. It allows a man to give from a place of willingness rather than fear of failure. When a partner communicates trust in his intentions and recognizes the ways he tries to show care, the relationship becomes a place where his natural desire to contribute can flourish rather than shrink. Because at its healthiest, the need to feel needed is not about proving worth. It is about experiencing the quiet satisfaction of knowing that the love you offer truly makes a difference in someone's life. Another is the need for emotional acceptance. For many men, the longing for emotional acceptance lives quietly beneath the surface of their relationships. It is not always expressed in words, and often it is not even fully understood by the man himself. But at a deep psychological level, there is a question that the nervous system is constantly asking: if I reveal my imperfections, will I still be loved? From early life, many boys learn that approval is often conditional. They may receive praise when they succeed, when they are strong, when they solve problems, when they perform well. But when they struggle, when they show confusion, fear, or emotional sensitivity, the response they receive can change. Sometimes there is impatience. Sometimes there is dismissal. Sometimes there is subtle disappointment. Over time, a quiet belief can form within the developing mind: love must be earned through competence, strength, and reliability. Vulnerability, uncertainty, and emotional struggle become parts of the self that feel risky to reveal. This is how many men learn to carry their imperfections privately. As adults, this early conditioning often continues to influence how a man shows up in relationships. He may try to be the dependable one, the stable one, the person who has everything under control, not because he is incapable of vulnerability, but because somewhere inside he learned that losing that image could threaten the connection he values. When a man feels that he must constantly demonstrate his value in order to maintain love, the relationship can slowly begin to feel like a test he must keep passing. Every mistake, every misunderstanding, every moment of weakness may feel like evidence that he is falling short. And when the nervous system perceives that love is conditional, it begins to protect itself. Protection often takes the form of emotional withdrawal. Instead of revealing uncertainty, a man may become quiet. Instead of sharing shame or insecurity, he may retreat inward. It can appear as emotional distance, but what is often happening underneath is the fear of being judged or diminished if his imperfections are fully seen. Emotional acceptance creates a very different experience. It communicates something deeply regulating to the human nervous system. You do not have to be perfect to belong here. It allows a man to experience love that is not dependent on constant performance. When he senses that his partner can see both his strengths and his flaws without withdrawing affection or respect, the pressure to maintain emotional armor begins to soften. In that environment, vulnerability becomes less threatening. He no longer has to spend so much energy protecting an image of competence. Instead, he can begin to reveal the parts of himself that were previously hidden, the doubts, the insecurities, the moments of uncertainty that are part of every human life. Ironically, it is often in these moments of acceptance that emotional intimacy deepens the most. Because when a man realizes that his imperfections do not disqualify him from love, he becomes far more capable of showing up authentically in the relationship. He no longer has to defend himself against judgment. He can simply be human. And when two people can meet each other in that place where love is not based on perfection but on understanding, that the relationship becomes something far more stable and nourishing, not a performance, but a connection where both people are allowed to be fully imperfectly real. And then last, the need for deep connection without shame. For many men, the desire for deep emotional connection is very real, yet it often lives alongside an equally powerful force of shame. Not the loud kind of shame that is openly discussed, but the quiet, internalized belief that needing closeness, reassurance, or emotional support somehow makes them less strong, less capable, or less worthy of respect. This tension often begins early in life. Can boys frequently receive subtle signals about what emotions are acceptable and which ones are not? Expressions of vulnerability may be met with phrases like, be tough, don't be sensitive, or handle it yourself. Over time, and the child absorbs a message that emotional dependency is something to hide. The longing for connection does not disappear, but it becomes surrounded by caution. The nervous system learns to associate vulnerability with risk. As adults, many men carry this conditioning into their relationships. They may deeply want emotional closeness, the feeling of being understood, supported, and emotionally held by their partner. Yet when that closeness requires revealing their needs, an internal alarm can quietly activate. A part of them fears that showing this level of emotional openness might lead to judgment, rejection, or loss of respect. So the need remains, but the expression of it becomes complicated. Instead of saying, I need reassurance, a man may simply become quieter when he feels insecure. Instead of saying, I feel lonely, he may distract himself with work, responsibilities, or practical tasks. Instead of asking for comfort, he may try to solve problems or appear self-sufficient. These behaviors are not signs that he does not care about emotional connection. Often, they are strategies developed to protect against the shame associated with needing it. The paradox is that many men are longing for exactly the kind of emotional closeness they struggle to ask for. They want to feel deeply connected to their partner, not only physically or practically, but emotionally. They want to feel that there's a place in the relationship where they can let down the armor they have carried for years. A place where their fears, doubts, and needs will not be interpreted as weakness, but as part of their humanity. When a relationship becomes a space where vulnerability is not shamed, something important begins to shift. The internal conflict between connection and self-protection begins to soften. The nervous system slowly learns that emotional openness does not automatically lead to rejection. In that environment, a man often becomes far more emotionally available than people expect. He may begin to share thoughts, feelings he has rarely spoken before. He may express affection and tenderness more freely. The connection deepens not because he has suddenly changed who he is, but because the shame that once blocked his emotional expression has begun to lose its grip. At its core, this need for connection without shame is deeply human. Every person, regardless of gender, carries the desire to be emotionally close to someone without feeling their needs make them inadequate. And when a relationship allows that kind of acceptance, intimacy stops feeling like a risk. It begins to feel like home. When we begin to understand the hidden emotional needs of men, something important becomes clear. Men are not less emotional. They are often less permitted to be emotional. And when a relationship becomes a place where both partners can safely reveal their inner world, not just their strengths, but their fears, their hopes, their needs, love becomes deeper, calmer, and more real. Because at the heart of every relationship is a simple human desire to be understood without having to hide who we truly are.